starting in the kitchen, talking about portion size. How can you measure your portion size without using a bunch of kitchen tools? I know we all want to know this, and I'm sure that we all know we're eating way too much, way more than we should, right? So here to share some helpful tips is Dr. Laura Christoph, professor of nutrition. Dr. Christoph, it's really, really sad when you realize how much you should be eating versus what we actually eat on a daily basis.
Definitely. You know, portion sizes in the U.S. have multiplied by about 3 times since the 1950s. You just have to go through a McDonald's drive-thru and see the difference between, you know, the old quarter to half cup French fries to the 2 cups that are served today.
Super size, right? Should you really be eating that much?
Not if you are planning on eating multiple times a day.
Okay, which we hope you are. Okay, so we're going to start and talk about the different food groups and what is actually healthy or recommended for us to eat. So we'll start with grains.
Great. So for grains, 1 ounce of grains is considered a serving of grains. Now that means different things for different types of grains. So if you're looking at 1 ounce of ready-to-eat cereal, that would be around 1 cup. You can measure that by using your fist, so it's around a fist of cereal, or around 2 cup handfuls. If you're looking at pasta or rice or a cooked type of grain, that's going to be about a half cup, which you can use, you know, a half fist or a 1 cup handful.
I'm going to stop you right there. Sorry to interrupt. This is how much pasta we should have in a day?
So not in a day, but for a serving. So you could decide to have 2 servings of pasta. You know, the average woman needs about 7 ounces of grains a day. So if you wanted to eat, you know, all 7 at a time, that's probably what's served at an Italian restaurant.
Right, and that's probably all you should have in an entire day.
Right.
Okay, right, and I mean, really, we're eating a whole lot more than that, than what's recommended. So that's 1 serving. Okay.
Right, and then 1 serving of bread is going to be 1 slice. But if we look at like our average bagel at Dunkin' Donuts or a bagel shop, you know, that's going to be about 4 ounces of grain, so you would call that about 4 servings, and we typically eat the whole bagel, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, exactly. So that's more than we should have. So this is an example for different types of grains, how much we should be eating.
Exactly. So let's move on to vegetables. So for vegetables, 1 serving is a little bit different depending on the vegetable. So for our leafy greens, 1 serving is going to be 2 cups, so 2 fists, and that's because there's so much air in between, you know, all the leafy greens.
Not as dense.
Right, and then for any other type of vegetable, whether it's a red vegetable or an orange vegetable or a starchy vegetable like potatoes, those would be 1 cup serving, and that would be about 1 fist or 2 cup handfuls.
Okay, so this is an example of how much is 1 serving of vegetables.
Right, and you'd want to make sure to vary your veggies each day too, so you want to make sure you have some green ones, some red ones, some orange ones, some starchy ones.
Eat the rainbow.
Yes, yes.
Okay, now fruit.
So for fruit, you want about 1 cup of fruit for a serving. The average woman needs about 2 to 3 cups per day, depending on her body weight and activity level. 1 cup equals 2 cup handfuls if you're having fruit salad, or 1 small piece of fruit is about a fist. If you think about, you know, an apple or something that we would typically eat, that's probably going to be more like 1.5 servings for a large apple.
Right,
So
it's a little bigger than my fist here. We just showed that picture of a little bowl of strawberries and a fist. So, you know, you're able, there we are, there's the picture. So we're able to see exactly how much is a serving just by putting our hand next to it and seeing, okay, you know, how many of these should I eat a day?
Right.
And how much is over the limit?
Yeah, you could also say with fruit a half cup of dried fruit as well, so that would be about 1 cupped handful. Or you could say 8 ounces of fruit juice. Now, even this coconut water that looks like a really small serving has 11 ounces, so it's close to 1.5 servings right there. And most juices, when they're sold as single servings, are sold in 2 cup portions or 16 ounces.
Okay, so that's good to know when you're drinking something like this that is getting your fruit, but just in liquid form.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Dairy.
So dairy, we have a couple different ways to measure dairy. So we can measure it by measuring shredded cheese, which would be about a 1/4 cup. So a 1/4 cup is about half of a cupped handful. You could also take 3 dice and measure hard cheese. So 3 dice would be about 1 ounce of cheese. You could say a half cup of cottage cheese, or a whole cup of yogurt or milk. Ice cream, you'd also measure a whole cup as a serving, but you'd have to put in all those empty calories as well and use that for your daily allotment. So ice cream wouldn't be the best choice there.
Right, exactly. And so that's for dairy. Now we move on to meat and protein.
Yeah, meat and protein. So meat and protein, we have our non-meat sources of protein, so nuts and seeds and things like that, and beans. That would be about a 1/4 cup for 2 ounces of nuts and a 1/4 cup for 1 ounce of beans. And then 1 tablespoon would be about an ounce of protein for peanut butter. And then an ounce is roughly 1 slice or a 1/3 of a palm full, but we typically eat about 3 ounces per serving in protein. So you could use either a deck of cards, or you could say around the size of the palm of your hand, or if you have your deli meat sliced in a pretty regular fashion, like not the ultra thin or whatever, then you could say 3 slices of deli meat or a half a can of tuna.
Okay, and so the palm of your hand is considered 1 serving or 3 ounces?
Yeah, or 3 ounces.
All right, so when we look at something like a chicken breast or a piece of steak or something like that, what we're looking at now, you can use the palm of your hand as a good judge. Now, I think it's really interesting, and I think everyone thinks this as they look at a serving size, how much we're actually served, whether we make it at home or even go out to eat, how it's actually too much, way too much.
Right, right. So the average hamburger that we get when we're served out might be close to 8 ounces or ½ pound, right? So that's almost 2.5 servings of our protein there. Also, even when you get a piece of salmon or something, you know, it's a little bit bigger than a checkbook, right? Usually 6 ounces. So you do need to factor that in. It's not to say that, you know, you can't eat more than 1 ounce or 1 serving at a sitting. You just need to factor it into your total daily allotment. And in our next segment, I'll talk about how to do that, how to create a meal plan.
So maybe it's just about being a little more conscious of what you're eating. This is a real eye-opener, Dr. Christoph. So thank you so much for showing us this. I think I'm going to be out to eat doing, like, you know, fist bumps and having my fists out and my hands. So really eating with your hands, I guess, right? Knowing exactly how much you're eating. So later in the show, we're going to show you what a healthy meal looks like for an average man and an average female. We're back in the kitchen with Dr. Laura Christoph, professor of nutrition. Now we're talking about the difference between a man and a woman when it comes to portion size. So earlier in the show, we talked about all the different food groups and what the correct portion size is. Now let's talk about men and women.
Yeah, so I wanted to give an overview of what the average male or female would need. When I looked it up on the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the average female is 5'4" and weighs 166 pounds, and the average male is 5'9" and weighs 191 pounds. I decided to down those weights a little bit to a healthy BMI. BMI is body mass index. A woman who's 5'4" and 166 pounds would have a BMI in the overweight category. Now that might be really appropriate if somebody's really active and has a lot of muscle mass. They're probably going to have a BMI that's artificially high because it's really the excess fat that BMI is supposed to predict. And same with males. You know, 162 pound male is a healthy size for a male, 140 pounds is a healthy size for a 5'4" female. But when we look at the body weight versus muscle mass, the BMI is just thrown off a little bit. So just keep that in mind.
Right, because muscle is a huge factor.
Right. So I've created 2 meal plans, one for a female adult of childbearing age who's 5'4" and 140 pounds, and then one for an adult male who is 5'9" and 162 pounds.
Okay, so average ballpark, right? All right, let's start with the woman, the female for breakfast.
Right, so a female, as we look at the overview of the day, needs about 7 ounces of grains a day, 2 cups of fruit, 3 cups of vegetables, 3 cups of dairy, 6 ounces of protein, and about 6 teaspoons of oil put throughout the day. So when we look at that, after that, they'll also have discretionary calories left over, 270 of them. So discretionary calories can be used for added fat or added sugar or just eating bigger portion sizes of your favorite food group.
Not very many.
No, not very many. 270 adds up really quickly, as you'll see here. So when we go through the daily diet, we have 1 cup of yogurt, a ½ cup of granola, and 1 cup of berries for breakfast. Not too many discretionary calories in there, but the granola, because there's a little added sugar in there, would contain a few discretionary calories. For lunch, we have 3 ounces of tuna that's mixed with 1 tablespoon of mayonnaise, because that's usually how we make tuna salad.
Right.
2 cups of salad in terms of the leafy greens, and then 1 cup of mixed vegetables over those leafy greens. So that gives you your 2 servings of vegetables, your 3 ounces of meat, and then a little bit of discretionary calories with the mayonnaise.
Right, exactly. There's your added right into there, and that's for the entire day.
Right. So the 1 tablespoon of mayonnaise is going to add about 90 discretionary calories. So that's 90 out of your 270 that you have for the whole day, right?
Right. So you have to really track this.
Yeah,
All right,
definitely.
and then a snack.
Yeah, for snack we have 1 cup of apple slices, so that would be, you could do a whole apple if it was fist size too. 1 ounce of crackers. These crackers, it happens to be 8 crackers in an ounce. You know, if you used another type of crackers, it might be a different portion size. If you look on the nutrition facts, 1 ounce also equals around 28 grams, so that would be another way to see how many crackers per serving.
Great.
Then we have cheese. Cheese, because it's high in fat, also contains some discretionary calories, so you're going to have a few discretionary calories in there, but you also have some of the milk group, so could be a good source of dairy as well.
Right, and as long as it's in moderation.
Exactly.
All right, now for dinner.
So for dinner, we have 1 cup of cooked pasta. That 1 cup is still a smaller portion size than you'd probably be served at, a restaurant or something like that. But it's 2 servings of grains, so that tops off your 7th serving of grains for the day without very many grains, it looks like, throughout the day. It doesn't seem like too many.
Right.
With a cup of mixed vegetables mixed in, 3 ounces of chicken, a 1/4 cup of shredded cheese, and a little bit of oil in there too. So although I didn't say, 6 teaspoons of oil throughout the day, we had the salad dressing, we had some fat in the cheese, we had some oil to make the granola, and then we also had some oil in the pasta as well.
Right, so a little bit here and there.
Right, and so by the end of the day, you have a tiny bit left over for discretionary calories for dessert, so I put a little sad half of a brownie over there. You could make it into a whole brownie if you switch that tuna salad for like some grilled chicken or something earlier in the day.
Yeah, so this is your discretionary calorie. You know what's really, really funny, actually? If I got this bowl of pasta right here at a restaurant, I would feel like I was gypped. I would say, hey, that's not enough pasta for me, but I mean, when you look at it, this is what we should be eating as normal, healthy human beings. Let's talk about men now. So same thing for women, but you obviously need more because they're
Right. So
the
pattern I just talked about for an average female would be about 2,200 calories. The average pattern for a male who's 5'9" and 162 pounds would be about 2,600 calories. So he gets to have 9 ounces of grain. He also gets a little bit more vegetable, 3.5 cups instead of 3. 3 cups of dairy, 2 cups of fruit, 6.5 ounces of protein, and 8 teaspoons of oil, and then 360 discretionary calories. So
he's got more to work with.
He gets
discretionary.
more. And females, if you're exercising a lot, you can up your discretionary calories and your calorie allowance too. So I mean, a female who's very active is going to have a higher calorie allowance. A female who's sedentary, it's probably going to be a lot lower, like more like 1,800 to 2,000. I plugged in a moderately active person because it's recommended that we get at least 150 minutes of physical activity a week. So I went based on somebody who's doing everything right.
Okay, right in the middle ground, exactly.
Right.
That's great. So then this is what you would add to a breakfast for, if you were a man, this is what you would add.
So I would add one half of a bagel with a tablespoon of peanut butter. So that adds a little bit of protein. It adds some oil because he has 2 more teaspoons of oil allotment, and it adds 2 ounces of grain, just the half of a bagel.
Wow. Right? Yeah, so that bagel's packed with you got to watch out, basically.
Right.
You're getting a lot of your grain intake in one meal. All right, now what would you add to lunch?
So to lunch, I added 2 tablespoons of nuts. So we had 2 tablespoons of nuts here, and then a half a cup of red peppers because we needed to add another half cup of vegetables for his daily allowance. We kept snack the same over here, and then for dessert, he gets another whole 1.5 brownies for his discretionary calories.
So he gets to indulge a little bit more.
Yes.
But then again, if you're an active female, maybe you could have that if you're really, really working out. So another perk to being really physically active.
Yeah, definitely a perk to being active. And I will say too that, you know, if you're following these guidelines, it's a baseline. It's for the average person. And all of us have really different metabolisms. We have different hormone responses to different foods. So for some people, more or less grains might be appropriate, more or less vegetables, maybe more or less protein, depending on your physical activity. And if you find that you're gaining weight on a calorie plan like this, my recommendation would be to remove some of those discretionary calories. So you make sure you're getting enough food throughout the day and you're not overdoing it on the calories.
This is great information. It's nice as an eye-opener just to inform us this is what we really should be thinking about while we're eating throughout the day. Thank you so much, Dr. Christoph. Very good information. Now I have to take those tips and keep them in my back pocket so I know what I'm doing every day. Thanks so much.